Today we are finally fixing the fact that this thing sounds like a dump truck. It sounds extra bad today because you guys remember in the last video I left it just kind of straight dumping right there. So maybe 2 feet after the turbo, that's it. It's loud. I'm not a fan. Before we get into today's video, I do want to remind you guys that we are going to be in Driven, Toronto, September 18th. I think. We're gonna be bringing the Civic, we're gonna bring the BRZ, take all kinds of stuff over there for you guys to see, check out. We're gonna have some brand new merch designs there on sale for you guys, so make sure you guys come through and check everything out at Driven Toronto. We're also gonna be at Halifax, I believe, but that's still a little bit farther away, so we'll get there when we get there. Anyways, like I keep telling you guys, we have a special guest coming next week, and I'm hoping to get this thing on the dyno while special guest is here. To do that, we need to get a couple things done. The one thing that we just keep dragging out is this exhaust. Since we put the Sidewinder turbo kit on this thing, the exhaust has never actually linked up. But the biggest thing for me was, you guys know that my kind of goal with this car was to have it be a sleeper E build. I don't want it to like sound super loud or be super obnoxious. I want you to just look at it and be like, wow, what a piece of shit. And then you hear the twin disc clutch and you're like, oh, that thing does not sound happy. But what you don't know is that this thing's gonna whoop your ass. So this is a portion of the Yonaka exhaust that we have been running ever since we put the original eBay turbo kit on there with the log manifold. This is a 2.5 inch exhaust. Now a lot of you guys were super mad when we put this on. Even Nick was like, yo, you really should run a 3 inch. It'll help you get the extra power, whatever. I like the 2.5 inch that Yonaka makes because it makes no sound. If you guys haven't seen the video where we installed the exhaust, I'll leave a link to it down below. Dude, it's silent. So the issue that we've had is that this new turbo kit, downpipe, all that stuff is 3 inches, and that is 2.5 inches. And I came up with a really, really cool solution, and today we're finally gonna get into it. All right, dude, so check this out. We got power wire here, obviously plugs into like a 12 volt and runs power to this box. And then the remote is actually extremely interesting. This thing has a volume button, which normally it's like open or closed. This guy's volume down or up, which means maybe we can open the valve to certain degrees. I don't know. But the best part, right here, baby. Ooh, check it out, dude. Damn. So this is a 3 inch valve setup. Basically this is like, I think it's called like a dump exit. And this is from actually a Canadian company called VALVED Exhaust. So I will leave a link to their website down below. They actually sell like full exhaust systems. They sell valves inside of mufflers. They sell all kinds of really, really cool stuff. This just called for like a really, really heavy DIY project with what we're doing. So I went ahead and I literally just got the valve. But you guys can get just the valves in different sizes. You guys can get, like I said, mufflers with valves in them, all kinds of stuff. Check out valve exhausts. So this thing is meant to be welded basically. So I was thinking of welding a flange on here. I kind of don't know what we're gonna do for sure. Today's video is gonna be like every other DIY video where we just really send it and hope it works. So this is obviously the plug for the valve to give it power, open, close. Now I know a valve exhaust does not answer the question of how we go from a 3 inch to a 2.5 inch, but check out what else we got. Boom, baby. So this is a Y pipe or a T pipe, or I actually really don't know. Super nice. It's got some real nice welds around it. It's got a flange on it. Unfortunately, I think we're gonna have to cut the flange off. And pretty much our plan for today is to go right here. We're gonna go down pipe into here. This is gonna go 3 inch to 2.5 inch, and then this will plug straight into the old exhaust. So when the valve is on this end and the valve is closed, we'll be running it extremely silently through the stock exhaust system. And when we want to make the extra power, when we're on the dyno, if it's gonna help me get 30 more horsepower from a better flow rate, I can open this boy up, have it be loud as heck, win some races, close it up, and go home quietly. But first things first, dude, I have never had a valve just like this in my hand. I've only ever had the one on the BRZ. It was already installed. I would like to plug it in and just mess with it and kind of figure out what all these buttons do before we bury it in piping. Alright, now let's see what happens with this remote here. Okay, so right now it is closed. I would assume that would be the off position. Yep, on. see how fast that thing went, dude? Oh my God. Off. On. Volume up. Bruh, come on. And then on is max, and then you can just inch it down. That is honestly super cool. Chris should almost be back. He was out filling up the welding gas this morning. I'm gonna get this thing up and we can start making an exhaust, boys. The first thing we gotta do is obviously extend this because it's touching everything. But I just don't wanna put it too low.
I feel like as long as we don't put it lower than the oil pan, we're good. Wow, it actually looks pretty good.
I'd say that's a pretty good height. We're gonna have to do something with these cables.
Yeah, of course.
But if we were to squish them and pretend they weren't here, squish.
That could be perfect, right?
So it's like a perfect
standing here, that's like straight down the tunnel.
Do you wanna just drop it? We'll pull these things right out and then we'll just reroute them?
Yeah.
Okay. Chris just pulled out this little 3-bolt 2.5-inch flange. So this guy is the same thing that we used last time. So we'll just use this guy. We'll cut this flange off, weld that flange onto there, and that can bolt onto the exhaust, and then everything, aside from this looking ugly, will be good. You know what we should have done before we welded it? Cut the flange off. And I gotta deal with all this doink on the end when I cut the flange off. You wanna give him a quick plug in and we'll see if it
I'm thinking so.
If it opens and closes?
Yeah.
And now we hope it opens, because if it doesn't, there's like a good chance it'll just jam. Nice. Oh, it's actually got room too. I don't know if they'll be able to see in there. If you see this little stop right here, there's one of those on the top and the bottom, right? So that when you slide the pipe in, it stops before that, which I think is what gives it clearance. When you open it, if you look in there, there's like a good gap between, it's like over 1/8 of an inch between the pipe. Can they see down in there? We can slide this dude over both ends. Nice thick bead on the outside. We'll be good to go. I'm gonna say we're out here again doing exactly what I say every time we build an exhaust, and this is the best exhaust we have built yet. Every video I'm gonna say it, but is it not true?
Yeah, it's true, but that's just with progression you get better, right?
Right, and that's what you say every time. But dude, it just looks good. I think it helped us today that we didn't have to do, we got to do a lot of our cuts on straights, so everything looks real nice. Literally, if this piece wasn't like a mix match color, this whole thing would look so good because it's all the same. This will blend into this once it gets heated. They're usually like the same color once they warm up. So we basically just shortened like 10.5 inches out of this. We're gonna weld that back on. And then that way I didn't have to weld this flange. And then this flange, we bolted everything through, popped it over, put a couple tacks. This guy's got a couple tacks. This guy's got a couple tacks. And then up there has a couple tacks. All we have to do is put this valve on, but I'm gonna put that on last. That way I can get my weldies in there. The freaking coolest exhaust I've ever made. And it's not even done, and it's still already the coolest exhaust I've ever made.
Got some CX Racing, got some Canadian Tire, got some eBay, Yanaka, and some Robbie rigs.
Can we call this a JDM exhaust? Because this piece does have some sort of Japanese writing on it. Does this certify us as a DIY JDM valved exhaust or what?
I would say no.
Is that what? I thought that's what you needed to pass certification.
Well, actually maybe, because this
Japanese
Canadian Tire
writing?
part is probably made in China.
CX Racing made in China too, dude. Not my best welding, but welding nonetheless. It actually looks like I'm gonna fucking die. That's the grossest thing I've ever seen in my life. It's just fucking dead ass empty. That's why it's splattering like this. It's gonna give you an empty fucking bottle. Alright, I'm not entirely sure what was filmed last. I just had like a super miserable phone call with the guys that we get our welding gas from, because basically this morning I told you Chris went out to get welding gas. He got back, I put the bottle on, I plugged it in, and it read 0 in the tank, but the line had pressure. So I thought, oh, maybe like I dropped my gauge and the gauge for the tank pressure stopped working or whatever. He literally got back, it was heat shrinked on the top. You assume that I messed up, not they messed up. So I plugged in the bottle, we started welding. I'm amazed I got so many welds done before we ran out. But it said 0 because there was freaking 0 gas, dude. So what happened here was I was coming around and then it started splattering like it was running out of gas. I tweaked a couple settings and somehow I laid a really nice bead and I'm like, nice, I fixed it. Then I started welding over top of the part that was splattery because I was trying to cover up because I thought my settings were wrong. I've been welding like different thicknesses of metal back and forth, so I was just tweaking settings the whole time. It was making a lot of sound, but I thought it was because I was welding over my weld, and I looked at it, it looks like buttholes, dude. Buttholes. I don't even know why I'm showing you this, but look at this. This is actually freaking disgusting, dude. Like, that is disgusting. Straight up no gas weld right there. And anyway, I told them they gave us an empty tank, so now Chris is driving all the way back to get it filled. And while he's out, instead of building a heat shield for this, I actually have some metal right there that I was gonna use to build a heat shield. But I was gonna try and get one that kind of like goes around the whole exhaust tunnel like this. And like I said, instead of building one, I actually just found something laying around that this is a heat shield, and this is meant to go on top of an exhaust. So this piece right here might actually work, and it'll just be much easier than, you know, building one. It's gonna have to run like that so it covers the whole thing. If it runs this way, it doesn't cover the whole thing. If it runs this way, it does. My main concern right now is that the dump is gonna be there. So we're gonna be dumping 3 inches right there because we want power, yes, but also we gotta control the heat somehow. So I'm gonna save this sheet for engine bay heat shields because we're gonna have to make a heat shield still around the brake fluid reservoir, like the brake booster. So I'm gonna save that for that. I'm not gonna tell you that this is the most beautiful thing in the world, but it already had the shape, so it was much better than me trying to make the shape out of the other one. And it does exactly what it needs to do. This actually will sit that way a little bit more. So I got this kind of cupped down because we do have a couple lines running across here. And then it's got the main protection up there. I spaced it. I don't know how you guys can see. There's a spacer up there to keep it from touching the actual diverter valve so that the heat won't obviously just go right into the diverter valve. Aside from the heat shield, I was gonna try and run these cables back up by myself, but it's a 2-person job. Now that there's a whole interior inside, I can't shove it up, it hits stuff, and then I go up top to grab it and it needs to be pushed. It's a 2-man job, but that's okay because Chris just returned with a nice new blue bottle this time that actually has frickin' gas inside of it, dude. Look at that thing. Thank God.
Gotta love putting the miles on the skyline.
As I was welding, I kept looking at Chris saying like, dude, my welds are getting worse and worse today. But what's happening was my gas was probably running out and out and out to the point where I had none. But I think what I'm gonna do, just so I never have to see it, is I'm just gonna thickly bead over top of all that, just because I don't even trust that it's like, there's so many holes. It's like popcorn right here. Daddy's home. Dude, this actually turned out pretty nice. So we gave everything that we welded, and especially this little dinky piece. I just soaked it in clear coat because I don't want anything to rust or any of the little weld spots to start to get any funkiness going on there. So I just completely soaked them in clear coat, like the super high temp stuff, obviously, so it's good. Heat shield clears. Actually looks like I might be able to get an O2 sensor in here now, which is nice. And the valve has enough room for a little 90. Now we're out of Sawzall blades. That's why you guys see me cutting with like the ratchet thing today and then with the grinder. So I'm not gonna make a turn down for that, just because I don't want to grind like 50,000 times, and when you grind it's not straight, so then it'll look like shit. It'll like completely ruin everything we've done here. So I'm gonna go out and just buy like a little 90, 3-inch 90, and then I'll do whatever modifications I have to make it fit on this, and it'll kind of just like turn down away so it's not blasting up against the frame, but everything is bolted up, has frickin' clearance for the first time in its life. Cables are routed up there. They come down through the chute, go up over the subframe, no fear of melting. So all we got left to do now is we gotta route this little wiring box thing. I guess we could potentially run it where the shifter cables go, or we could run it where the brake lines used to go before I changed the location and I stopped running them down through the car and I started running them through the engine bay. You wanna hold this? Yep. I'm gonna finger blast this through to you. I'm gonna drop it through the same hole that the brake lines used to go through. Got it?
Yeah.
Can you tuck it in like above the heat shield at all?
Yeah, I can.
You think that's what we should do or what?
Yeah, I'm thinking so.
Okay, so like I showed you guys, we got all these hooked up when we were doing that time lapse. When Chris was down there feeding the wire through, the little box and all the wires and stuff are just run right up into here in the glove box. Which doesn't have to be permanent. I can kind of hide them in the trunk, or I can do whatever I want, but for now, that's where they go. That's where they should. Hopefully it should be fine in there. And dude, we are getting a frickin' storm about to come through here. So we're gonna fire this thing up and get a couple sound clips real quick here before all you hear is thunder. Cause dude, all we're gonna hear is thunder in a minute here.
Okay, buddy.
Okay, ready? She's closed. So if all is
We
well,
have never heard this fart can with this turbo setup yet. So
no.
I'm gonna give him the booty shot. Perfect. Sleeper mode.
Just like I remember. Now we get to do the real test. Does this thing all of a sudden turn back into a dump truck? You ready for this?
That's awesome.
It instantly stinks too. This smells so, yo, there was lightning behind you. That's actually sick. And then we were like, oh no, never mind, we're done being race car drivers. Oh, I'm right in the blast zone. Okay, come under here.
Go like back it up like 25%.
It interestingly does do something. If we were doing like a dual muffler and it went from one to the other, it would really help with sound. It just sounds like a tractor no matter what when that's open. She hasn't been running super good ever since we put this turbo kit on, but we can try and get a couple revies for you. Tractor mode? Lawnmower mode.
That's a huge difference. Dude, you can really hear the turbo
When it's open?
out the dump. It sounds sick.
Really?
Yeah.
Nice. Dude, it actually sounds okay with the exhaust. It got a little throatier. Okay, opening it. Bro, I want to say the exhaust got louder with this turbo setup.
I only brought that second one up to like 4,000.
I feel like before, even when you revved it, it sounded very mechanical, like you could hear the engine. That one you could hear like a little grunt.
Yeah.
It's kind of nice. I would love to take this thing for a drive for you guys.
He's telling me to pack the
Yo,
G
that
up.
was real close. I gotta get the Z inside, dude. The roofs don't seal very well.
Oh, yeah.
Yo, that was cool. Okay,
sick.
I would love to take it for a drive, but as you guys can tell, it barely revs. We need to take it to Nick. We need to get a tune done. So I'm gonna park this thing inside. I'm gonna clean everything up that's outside that can't get wet, because we gotta go. We got lightning coming right now. I hope you guys are pumped. Shout out to Valved Exhaust for hooking us up with the 3-inch valve. You guys can check them out. They make full exhaust systems, and we talked about doing some other stuff too on some other cars, so I'm really excited to try and get like a full exhaust system on one of my cars in the future. For now though, this is a really, really cool way to get the extra power and not sound like a douchebag all the time. We gotta go. I'll catch you guys next time. Thank you guys so much for watching. Peace out and stay committed.